Okay, apparently I wasn't recording. So here I am. It's almost been on bed, and it's right around here. It says, Amar Rabbi Tanchum, Amar Rabbi Chan Yilai, Kol Adam Kein Lisha, Shoi Blei Simcha, Blei Bracha, Blei Tov, Blei Simcha, D'chsiv Smachta Tov V'Sach, Bracha, D'chsiv Aniyat Bracha V'Sach, Blei Tov, D'chsiv Blei Tov Yosel V'Vado, Marav Amri, Blei Torah, Blei Choma, Blei Torah, D'chsiv Ein Zarti T'Sheh Neidcha Mimeni, Blei Choma, D'chsiv V'Keva, T'Sevev Gever. Rava Bar Ula Amar Blei Shalom, D'chsiv V'Data Kishalom Alecha, V'Kata L'Sechta. Maybe we should get out a Tanakh to be able to translate all those verses. I'm not quite there just yet. Just finishing something up on my other phone. A little bit of poker, getting my 100 points. While I was getting close to the 100 points, I was thinking about doing this. I was actually thinking about doing this right as I left after Abdullah, but I wasn't quite ready. I wasn't 100% certain that doing this was such a great idea, but even now, I'm not so sure it's such a great idea, but I really don't have anything else to do. I was also thinking about ordering some pasta. But first and foremost, let me go get the English Tanakh to be able to translate the verses. Nice, big, fat, stone edition Artscroll Tanakh. It's also got some nice charts in the back if you're a fan of nice books. It's fairly expensive, but it's worthwhile. So the first one we're looking up is Smachta Tov V'Secha, which is pretty simple. You should be happy, you and your house. And this is in Devarim Yudal Chavav, Deuteronomy 14:26. I'll read the whole pasuk and then translate it according to how the article translates it. That seems to be relatively straightforward. Yeah, I think this will be a two-parter video. So 14:26. Oh, that's the end of the pasuk. It's not even. Okay, there's the pasuk 26 in chapter 14. Chavav in Perek Daled. ונסעת הכסף בכל אשר תאווה נפשך בבוקר בצאן ביין בשכר בכל אשר תשאלך נפשך בכל פשעם לפני השם אלוקיך ושמחת אותו ובשמחה. So he says, you may spend the money for whatever your soul desires, for cattle, for flocks, for wine, or for alcoholic beverage, or anything that your heart soul wishes, shall eat it there before Hashem your God, and rejoice, you and your household. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple. Okay, the next one, I guess we'll just go in order here, because this next one is in Yecheskel. Bracha. It's in Yecheskel Mem Daled Lamed. Yecheskel 44:30. Yecheskel 44:30. Here, Yecheskel. Okay, Yecheskel 44:30. Okay, 44. I'd say my mood is a little bit down, but I'm actually kind of exactly the same. On my way back from using the bathroom at Shai Rachmim, I encountered Lord. I wasn't wearing my glasses, but I was still able to tell who it was. And I was a little upset she didn't get back to me in the positive that she wanted to go out, marry. What else is there, right? Fine. Pasuk Lamed. Vereshis kol bikuri chol trumas kol mikol trumasechem lekohanim iyev vereshis harisechem tinu lekohin laniach bracha v'secha. Well, there it is. Laniach bracha v'secha. Okay. All the first fruits of every kind in all truma, of any kind of all your truma gifts shall be for the kohanim. You shall give the first portion of your dough to the kohen to bring a blessing to rest upon your home. I'm not so upset because she wants me to quit smoking. The things about her I'm not particularly a big fan of. I'm not planning on quitting smoking for any human being, and well, she's not planning on changing the things about her that I don't particularly like. I would be willing to consider quitting smoking for like $10 million. It's probably going to cost tens of thousands of dollars in chemo or other cancer treatments eventually, but in the meantime, is relatively pleasurable, and it's hard to think about having a future when, as far as I can tell, I don't want a future just to avoid financial expenses. Like, is that all life is? Just, you're screwed. Rent costs money, and dental bills cost money, and medical bills cost money, and that's all there is in life. Like, I study all these books just to learn that everything just comes down to money. Serve God, serve God, serve God. And in the next life, you'll get something. If I quit smoking, yes, a wider population of women becomes available for me to date, and there's a little bit more pocket money, but in general, it's like 800 shekel a month. So what is that, like $300 a month? You're going to tell me that any person worth his, whatever it's called, is really so worried about $300 a month? Seriously, are we so poor as the Jewish people, or are there so many poor people that the amount of charity is so low available that there just isn't? Like, how are people affording having 10 or 20 kids, or 5 kids on a cola salary? They have no bad habits? Or like, what exactly is going on? I don't know. Next one. Tess is in Bereshis Beis Yuches. This is a very, very important one to me. It's in the 2nd chapter, and it's verse 18, which is synonymous with life, Chai. And Steve Thorpe, aka Joseph Robert Cohen, aka I don't know what he's going by these days, but often says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. It's very clear. If God wanted us men to stay just with men, God would not have created a woman as the second creature, second human. He would have created another man. He said very clearly, and here's the verse, it says, Vayomer Hashem Elokim L'tov Hayos Adam Levado Eselo Ezer Kenegdo. Hashem, God said, it is not good that man be alone. I will make him a helper corresponding to him. And you'll tell me, is there anybody on this planet who says that the helper created was a man? Man needs a woman as a helpmate. Now you're going to tell me the feminist movement changed it around, the reform movement changed it around. I might not be the most orthodox Jew in the world, but it's a pretty clear verse. Man, male, needs a female helpmate. I'm not going to say that man shouldn't help his woman, that he shouldn't do kindness with her, that he shouldn't treat her well. I'm just going to say that woman was created for helping man. Yeah, plain and simple. Okay, moving along. It's probably going to get me in trouble with a lot of people. The next one is in Eov, but I got to see what it's talking about because I don't see in the verse itself a reference to anything going on here. It says, okay, so this is talking about Torah. Right? It says, below Torah, to see if ein ezrasi bi v'toshia nidcha mimeni. I don't know what the heck that's talking about, but it's Eov, Vav Yud Gimel, Eov 6:13. Ooh, spooky, 6:13. I also don't know where Eov is. Oh, look at that. I opened up the Eov finally, eventually. 6:13, it is the whole verse. Ha'im ein zrasi bi v'toshia nidcha mimeni. Is my own help not with me? Is counsel to be withheld from me? I guess help and counsel might be talking about Torah. I don't know. But that's the verse that the Gemara is quoting. Let's see if there's any Rashi on that particular verse. There is. Ha'im ein ezrasi bi, eshti dichsiv. It brings Bereshis again. Ezer kenegdo miyad tushia nidcha mimeni tzarich la'aseh b'tzarich yibeso v'talmud l'mishtakeach. A person who needs to deal with his own household needs, but he learned, disappears. The person is so busy with figuring out how to pay rent, and how to get groceries, and how to cook, and how to clean. He has no time to worry about or to think about serving God. Now, I don't mean to be like a Christian monk who's out away and some, or even a yeshiva guy. Is sitting in yeshiva and all he's doing all day is studying and praying. Now don't get me wrong, the Tanya does say that that's considered a beinoni when it came to Torah. But the average person serving God is the holidays, Shabbat, to the best of your ability, and having a normal home, having a wife, having kids, having a job, being semi-normal. Semi-normal, you know, vacations, maybe not extravagant vacations, but vacations. You know, you go to the zoo. You know, once every 6 months you go to the zoo or the aquarium, or you go visit Eilat, you go visit Haifa. You know, if you want to go swimming, if you're ultra-Orthodox, you go on days where it's just men, and the women go on days where it's just women. And if you're not ultra-Orthodox, you go as a family. You know, try to look at the girls in the bikinis, the women in the bikinis. Oh, I don't see you, because I haven't seen hours and hours and hours of movies and other things which would make monks stop molesting babies, baby boys. I mean, that's what a 9-year-old is, right? Baby, basically a baby. I don't get, you know, I don't get it. Okay, moving on. Yirmiyah 31 is the next one, talking about Shalom, talking about, oh no, sorry, I skipped one. The next one is walls. And that is in Yirmiyah. Yirmiyah 31:21, Yirmiyah Lamed Aleph. Sometimes it's hard for me to translate the numbers. Yirmiyah Lamed Aleph. Yirmiyah Lamed Aleph. I'm finding it hard to find it. Okay. Yirmiyah Lamed Aleph. And the specific verse was Chaval. So, 31:21. He says here, Amasai tis chamakin habas hashoveva kibora arnei chadasha baaretz nekevet sovet gaver. First time I said God's name in a verse tonight. I usually only say God's name when I'm reading a whole verse, and only when I'm intending to read a whole verse. That's why the first 2 or 3 verses I had God's name, I did not say it. But okay, never mind. Moving along. Verse 21, how long will you slip away, O wayward daughter? For Hashem has created something new in the world, that the woman will court the man. Well, there's a note here. Going on 21, God is often portrayed as Israel's husband, although the man commonly courts his mate. Eventually Israel will repent and seek out God. Okay. I think that was actually mentioned in this week's Torah. Go to God or something like that. Oshay did Dalit, if I remember correctly, which is in 12 later prophets. What do you know? Amazing that I opened up like right to the page. Hard to go with that out. It's amazing. I love it. I used to have it in Toronto. It took me a long time to buy it because, you know, they're expensive, but still. Okay, moving along. Next verse. We have, talking about Shalom, is in Eov again. Eov, that's either Hay or Ches. Looks like a Hay, but I'll have to check. I don't even know if there are 8 chapters in Eov. I've never actually read all of Eov. Eov, well, there are much more than 8 chapters, so we might have to check both. Eov, Hay, try starting on Hay, and just pasuk Chav Dalet 24. Yep, let's talk about this one. 24, you will know that your tent is at peace, and you will visit your home and find nothing amiss. I suppose if you have a nice wife, a good wife, then you will know that your tent is at peace, and you will visit your home and find nothing amiss. If you have a good wife. Okay, moving along. The next one. That's it, apparently. Okay, fine. Fine. So those are the verses I want to quote. That's the Gemara I wanted to quote. And now we're going to move on to Torah Shulchan Aruch. See what it brings down. Le Halacha. So here we got the Arba Torah. We've closed the Gemara. Almost closed the Tanakh because I'm not getting more psukim. It's the first Halacha. The tour might be a little long-winded, but I've got the time. And the main thrust of what I wanted to bring is talking about Pshaydat Mecha Tov Yishu Shogeg Vayim Yizidim, which is brought in the back in the Sifta Babasa, the end of the 3rd parak. But I wanted to bring the original sources because this is the first time we're doing this, as far as I know. Oh wow! Hilchos Per Verva Siman Aleph Prati Rabazi Dinim Avarim Pezeh Siman. Now, I'm not perfect. I've been with women before, and many of the times protection was used, but I'm getting older. Like for the last 10 years almost, I've been looking for a wife. I don't want to fool around anymore, which doesn't mean I haven't fooled around in the last, it was 5 years. Although technically there was a little bit of fooling around recently, but kind of thought it was going somewhere productive. But technically I haven't done anything, no, that's not true. I don't want to get into it, but mostly. Well, it depends on your definition of serious. It's very frustrating. I have not been a good boy. But I haven't slept with anybody in 5 years. I would very much like to find a wife. Only be with her. Yeah. Okay. So, Aleph. Onish Mishena Osik Pergrevia. Beis. Ein Merchas Avatar Elamod. Alisa Isha. Bayan the Kamam Samok. Gimel. Bein Yuchas Mitzvah Lisa. Isha. Ben Yugimel Mitzvah Bina Muvchar. Kodim Yugimel Lisa to have a Kiznus. Overall, Estream, Pelinos, based in Kofin, so Elim Kimis Akum Dilawon by the Kaman. Dalam Nish Hoshka Nafsh Bator, Kevin Azai, Patim Perverbia. Hey, it's was Perverbia, Zachar the Keva, Vimai, Zachar, sorry, so the Keva Linus. It's interesting how he brings Nish Hoshka Nafsh Bator, Kevin Azai, Patim Perverbia, because it reminds me of the line of Perkel, so you shouldn't make Torah into a hammer with which to bang or to cut away at. And it's like, well, here I am. I'm using this particular mitzvah and these sources to like prove my point that I need financial help and I need serious help finding a wife. That I totally suck at the relationship game, at romance, at charisma. And heck, I even suck at learning. I mean, this is why am I studying this? Because the topic itself interests me. Nothing else. Although Gemara does say in another place, a person should learn where he wants to learn, what he wants to learn, but still. Okay, moving along. Vav, Mesu Bana V'nichu Banim. I'm not sure what that's talking about, but we're not going to get there. Zayin, Hayule Banim, Kiyuso, Niskairu, O, Balduso, Nishtakru, Ches, Apopi, Sheish, Lokama Banim, Asulama, Lahisha, Kai, Mrs. Privira, Imo to the course of Vitolisa, Isha, Bas Banim, Tes, Kamadashim, Noisev, Imish, Takanash, Laisa, Achas. Yigibel Ishish in Mitzava al Perverivia, Nasa Isha, Shah Ima, Bilioda, Simon Kufman Dali. So there's all sorts of halachas brought in the first halacha of Perverivia. All sorts of subtopics, subcategories. So the main thing, the Torah itself, if I'm not mistaken, although this might also be the Shulchan Aruch, or maybe the Shulchan Aruch's in the back. Is the Shulchan Aruch in the back? No? I don't know where. We really don't know where. It says Tur Shulchan Aruch, but I don't understand what's what in this book. So I'm just going to read it, and hopefully it's going to make some sort of sense. Okay. Lo tove esel movado esel lo zikenegdo. He brings the first pasuk of Procreation. We saw it was in chapter 2, verse 18. Pasuk base, parak base pasuk Yuchas. It's not good for man to be alone. God says, I will make for him a helpmate. And the rabbis explain, what does it mean, Hazer Kenegdo, helpmate opposite him? So if he is a righteous person, she will be a helpmate for him. And if he is not righteous, she will be a helpmate opposing him. Yeah, so all women being against me says that my purpose is wrong. Gosh, I don't get it. I mean, I'm not smart enough, right? It says clear cut. You gotta have a wife and do this thing called procreating. We'll get to the Sifta later where it says not to. Also, there's the other issue of whether it applies to women. He says right in New Gimel, Isha Eina Mitzabel Perivriva, the woman is not commanded to Perivriva. However, he did say earlier, Asur Lamod, even says Ches, Alpha Pish Yesh Lakama Banim, Asur Lamod Laisha. Even though a person has many children, he's forbidden to live without a wife. I mean, these halachos seem pretty clear. Blessed be his name, the Holy One must be he wants in the good of his creatures. Well, I guess enough women have realized that my nature is not so good. I mean, after all, my family has basically excommunicated me, ostracized me, so. But God wants for the good of his creatures, which is probably why all these women have said no to me. That it's not good for man to be alone, and has created for him a helpmate opposite him. That the intent of creation of man was in order to procreate. The intent, I have another place in the Gemara somewhere, I forget, is it Gittin or somewhere? That the entire world is created for procreation. He brings us an aleph here. Sean Valadino, we got the generation of the Davis of Zeshel, the Rich Mashman Bris Azer, Bitam Sheet, that was other bats, but Bitam Machine Mashman Bris Azer, Bitam the kind of Coven's Warrior, the hand of the Birds of Liberals, Namishu of Lada, Babylon, Lumber, Lashani, Nami, Horakos. Okay, I don't see him bringing down the Gemara in Gittin, but he could be wrong about the location. It might actually be in Ksubos, might be somewhere else, but it says it's somewhere. Okay, anyways, moving on. It's impossible to procreate, although technically today that's not true. You can go to a sperm bank and donate your sperm. You can go to a fertility clinic and donate your sperm. But on a very, very basic, simple level, you have a wife and you do your best to procreate. And hopefully, in my case, have a very good therapist so that, so you can actually maintain a relationship, because apparently male-female relationships are very, very challenging. I have no idea, because no woman will give me the opportunity to live with her. I have some bad habits, sure, I'm not perfect. But I don't think I'm the devil. Okay. So, Sivo Dalvik Be'ezer, Shasala, God is commanded to stick to the helper that God has created for him. And as such, each man was commanded to marry a woman in order to procreate, to fulfill multiply. That any man who does not get involved in procreation is if he murders. And I don't want to put this out there for people who might take me the wrong way, but one might think it means even rape. And, I'm not pro-rape. That might be because I'm a small person. I don't know. I wasn't made an average-sized person. I wasn't made a big person, so it's hard for me to say what I would feel if I was a bigger person. But I know I have encountered smaller women, and I mean, I've been turned on, but I don't. Heck, I was on the beach like 2 years ago. I encountered a 17-year-old non-Jewish woman, and I was like, I don't want to make a move just in case, it gets reported back to her father or her friends that some guy is, close to 40 is like messing around with a 17-year-old. But technically in the Orthodox world, I'm not sure should that be so bad. I don't know. I really don't. I know if a rabbi came over to me, a respectable rabbi came over to me and said there's a family with a 20-year-old daughter that they want to marry off. Do they think I'm a good candidate? I think I would say yes. Some of the family and the rabbi signed off on it, and the community signed off on it. But I think there are enough women that are closer in age that are still capable of having children. That's another reason Laura and I are not necessarily such good matches, because she doesn't want to have children. And women are not obligated necessarily. I have to really like her. But if she's not obligated to have children, she's not obligated to help somebody have children, then it's unfair to demand such of her. It's too bad, because I really, really like her. She's got a great personality. She's got a great vibe. She's a really nice person. She's a really, really nice person. Certain sincerity I feel from her. Other times I don't like her, but I think in general I like her. Okay. So apparently, talking about murder, it says here it's in Bereshit 9:6. So let's see what Bereshit 9:6 says, so that I know exactly what I'm talking about. Open up close. Okay. Oh, wrong book. I thought I opened up so close, but no, that was very far. This book off. Okay. Bereshit 9:6. Okay. I think this is talking about Cain and Hevel killing one. The Cain killed Hevel. Nope. Nope, this is after Noah already. I should look at which section I was reading. But here. So, I don't know why 6, it's 7. It's a typo. But anyway, Shavri Dam Ha'adam. Shafech Dam Ha'adam Ha'adam Damu Yishafech. Yeah? 9:7 is any person who kills, his blood shall be killed by man. Kivitel Melukim also saw them, because in the image, so to speak, of God was man made. V'atem Puravu, Shurtzu V'aretz V'ruvuva. And literally, the next verse is be fruitful, multiply. Shurtzu is a little derogatory. Let's see how they translate it. It says here, team on the earth and multiply on it. Team. That's what cockroaches do. That's what snakes and lizards and... Yeah, okay. And if a person is not involved in procreation, he is kilu. His own form becomes less. Because in the image, so to speak, of God was man created by Temperavu. You shall be fruitful, multiply. And he causes the divine presence to disappear from Israel. If any person doesn't have a woman, is sundered, without blessing, without good, without blessing, without a home, without Torah, without walls, without peace. Elazar says any man that doesn't have a woman is not considered an Adam. Gemara says elsewhere, Jews are called Adam and non-Jews are not called Adam. There are other names for what humankind can be called. You have Ish, you have Enosh, you have Gever. So these are all names for men. And the plural of Ish would be Anashim. Or in terms of just women, would be Nashim. There is no plural for Adam. But to be seen as this epitome of what a man is supposed to be is a man and a wife. Preferably with children. Although Adam was called Adam even before he had Chava, and Adam was called Adam after he had Chava, and after he had Cain and Hevel, and there was a third one? Shais? I think Shais. And then Noah had Shem, Cham, and Yafes. It's hard to remember all these things, you know. There's only so much room in a brain. This is my Shabbat watch, by the way. Knockoff Omega. I even checked on the back, it's got a serial number, so it might not even be a knockoff. It might be like stolen, that they sold on AliExpress as if it was a knockoff. But there are more of them. Did like somebody in China knock up a whole truck of Omegas? I don't know. It was 12 days late in coming. I put in for a refund. I got the refund. And then the guys messaged me on AliExpress and WhatsApp saying, "Oh, you got the product, send me the money." Yeah, and what about my charger that I didn't order from you, but you know, from AliExpress from another vendor that didn't arrive, and they're not willing to give me the refund? Then my proof that it didn't arrive isn't sufficient. I don't get it. You have records that I got the product, so don't they have records? Oh, it didn't, because the post says that it arrived. I didn't get it. I'm still waiting for a refund for a watch band from Amazon. I called them up and they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you a refund." Still waiting. Yeah. I was thinking about ordering pasta. It's already 10 o'clock. I don't even know if the pasta place is still open. I don't even know if it's open at all tonight. New Delhi be open till like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I really want to eat a meat sandwich at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at Hartford. I don't know. I had like three slices of challah and hummus at the third meal. My lunch was 3 bowls of cholent and some potato chips and some whole wheat crackers. And in the morning it was at the Kotel for Shacharis, Nate's, sat next to Rabbi Anhorn. And I had half a piece of Yerushalmi kugel, a piece of potato kugel, and one like cinnamon bun like this big after davening. And then I came here and was learning all the shoppers. No learning, I was reading. I don't know if I was learning anything. Chasing down sources and all sorts of books. I don't remember what the heck I was even doing. I even came across one source that I couldn't figure out where it was. I was quoting something in a rush, and it said it was either brachos or beya, and it was pei gimel yud gimel. At first I thought that meant page pei gimel and yud gimel, but then I quickly realized there is no pei gimel in either of those. So we thought maybe parrot gimel, yud gimel. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't see it. Okay, let's just finish this and get to the Masifta just to start it off, and hopefully tomorrow get into more of it, assuming I have the wherewithal. I don't think they have a Masifta in the Ramban, so it would definitely mean coming here. Or Michael wants me to work with him at his place tomorrow and then go for lunch at a place that has grilled cheese. Which seems like overpriced and worthless, because like I could get a sandwich maker and make my own grilled cheese sandwich. But you never know, there might be really good, because there's adequate and then there's really good. So I don't know. And the Russian phrase that you very bigi, that when they're giving take, when they're beating you run. Thankfully nobody's beating me, but in life I'm being beaten by all the women, the financial institutions, the job market, most of the rabbis. Okay, we give it Janasa Isha of Mispakbakin. Once a person gets marries a woman, his sins, Mispakbakin, they kind of disappear. Lashon Rashi, Per Kabali Vimto. Apparently. Poking and a Kavim. Mispakbakin, Mistamin, Lashon Biapak, Poking and Kavim, Akal Lashon. I'm not really sure what it means. But Pakvakin. There's a yud here and there's a vav here. So let's see what this vav does. Also, Pakvakin parish Mistamim. His sins are closed. Lashon Pokin and Nekavim. Pokin. Okay, a bakak. Yeah, bakak is kind of covered. You put it on bottles. Okay, and this yud goes where? Betur, Fus Yashin Gerson Bagbin Betur, Nitvasim, Bezozit, Fus Rishanis, and Bagbin, Tur, Sabya, Betur, Nitvasim, Bezozit, Fus Shani, Gerson, Mispakbikim. So, the question of whether it's a taf and Mispakbikim or whether it's Bepakbikim. Okay, anyways, that is that halacha. Shemar Matzah Isha, Matzah Tal, Be'apak, Ratzon, Hashem. Oh, he actually brings a pasuk here. Yud Aleph. Nope, that's not Yud Aleph. Where's the pasuk? I don't see where the pasuk is. He says this pasuk, Shemar Matzah Isha, Matzah Tal, Be'apak, Ratzon, Hashem. I think that's in Koheles. No, he says in Mishlei. Mishlei Yudches, Chaf Beis. Mishlei Chaf Tes Beis. Proverbs 18:22. Okay, let's look it up quickly and then take a look at the Sifta. We'll just take a quick glance over there. I believe I'll say that for tomorrow already. There's a lot to the Sifta. This could technically be like a 3-part or a 4-part investigation. When I say Mishlei, okay, 18. 1822. 1822. Mishlei 1822. He says, Tavas Adam Chazdov, Tov Rosh Meish Kazov. That's not the right chapter. That's 19. Let's try that again. 1822. Matzah Isha Matzah Tov V'Yalfek Ratzah Me'Hashem. 22. One who has found a wife has found goodness and has brought forth favor from Hashem. So V'Yalfek, he says, brought forth here. He doesn't say closing, and there's no note on it. But I'm sure if you take a look in the Mikros Gedolos, you'll find plenty of commentary on that particular one. There's even there's two different opinions. When you find a wife, matzah, motzi, have you found matzah, which means matzah isha matzah tov, or matzah isha marmimovis, I have found women to be more bitter than death. Anybody who's been in a bad relationship will tell you being in an unpleasant relationship is it can feel more bitter than death. I can tell you that from begging on the street, begging. I have told many people I'd rather kill myself. I've asked people have asked me, how you doing? Or they said, we saw you around the last time we were here. I'm like, yeah, hopefully by the next time I'll be dead. It's like, if my life goal is 50 shekel a day, minimum, on the street, and like my highest aim is like, let's say 200 shekel a day, I'd rather be dead. It's like, that's not going to pay the bills. An ambulance to the hospital is somewhere between like 400 and 1,000 shekel. And to get admitted into emergency is like 2,000 shekel. And renting a room is like 3,000 shekel a month. And renting an apartment is like 5,000-6,000 shekel a month. How am I supposed to survive on pennies? And Talmud Torah K'neged Kulo, but Tzchar Mitzvah B'Hayal Maleka. I'm just going to quote the end of the third chapter in Bava Basra, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll go back and actually read some of the stuff in it. Okay, it's pretty short, so I can even read it with the translation. But in the back there are some comments, individual paragraphs, talking about this concept of Kshed Atzmecha. In fact, why don't I just quickly open it up. Yalkut Biurim in Samach Amud Beis. Interesting how Yevamos is Samach Bet Amud Bet, and here it is Samach Amud Beis. Not to be confused with Samach Men. So Samach Amud Beis, it's going to be a little while to find it. Here we go, Samach. Samach Bet Amud Bet. Who says, it's all the way at the end, apparently. Whew. Am I looking at the wrong one? Or should I be looking at Yevamos? Oh, Shrek. Oh, Shrek. You know what? Maybe I was looking at the wrong one. Maybe it's in Yevamos. Okay, I guess that's up for tomorrow. But the Gemara itself, I'm going to still read it. I have time. Okay, let's just read the Gemara here. It says, this is Samach Amud Bez, and it's like the last few lines in Bava Basra, third parak. Gemara via Brisa in the seventh binyan Velus Shesin Hog Al Chorba Beis Hamikdash. The Gemara brings a Brisa, an additional Brisa, talking about the concept of mourning that should be done with regards to third temple. And this actually probably explains why, if I'm not mistaken, it could be incorrect, where it says not to engage in marital intimacy on Tisha B'Av. Not to do it in Yom Kippur is simply that you're in Inui Nefesh, you're causing yourself lack. Although I hate the fact that it says Nefesh, because Nefesh is an aspect of soul versus Guf, is body. But maybe the two are interconnected to some degree. I mean, they are interconnected, because without your Nefesh, the body has no life. Unless you're an evolutionist who says that there is no soul, and it's just... Anyways, Tanya B'Brisa is taught in the Brisa. Amar Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. Rabbi Shmuel, son of Elisha, says, V'yom shachar beis hamikdash dinu. from the day that the temple was destroyed, it is the law. Maker din ha'yitzarech. The translation here, it says, or not translation, but a minor commentary, that from the essence of the law, it should have been that we should have decreed upon ourselves not to eat meat, not drink wine. Ella, rather, but atam shali gozer kehu mishum. The reason this wasn't decreed, she'in gozer gezer al tzibur elin kein reiv tzibur yachol namapa. They do not set decrees on the populace unless the majority can actually follow through. And ever since the evil rulership spread out decrees upon us that were harsh and evil, and it cancels for us Torah mitzvos, and they do not allow us to enter into the oath of the Son. And here it says in the commentary, translation commentary, to do to our sons ritual circumcision. And there's a note here. In Christ Shuas, then it's called the oath of the Son, mishum shehi la'achar shias yamim, because it is after 7 days. I mean, I don't think so. I think it has to do with the covenant that God did with Abraham. And he told circumcise Shmuel, and then he told Yitzchak circumcise him and all the offspring on the 8th day. But whatever. It says it's a Rashbam. Means there probably isn't a Rashi on this. No, there is no Rashi here. This is Rashbam. No wonder I'm confused. Apparently Rashi did not write on Bava Basra. There are some Masechtas that are, or not completely anyways, there are some Masechtas that are missing parts of Rashi. Amazingly, we're not missing everything on Chumash. And Koach this morning wanted to point out how there are earlier publications of Rashi and early editions, later editions. I didn't want to get into an argument because I was kind of focused and kind of exhausted and kind of running out of coffee. But the point is, there are multiple editions. He was an author and he wrote his commentary and he rewrote his commentary. Possibly he wrote it a number of times until he was certain that he had it right. I don't know. I wasn't there. You'd have to ask an expert. All I'm doing is reading and translating. I mean, I don't know if I'm right ever. All I can tell you is that from a physiological, biological, and seemingly biblical perspective, not to mention rabbinic, I need a good woman in my life for so many different aspects that I am basically incapable of living a good life without one. Not that all of me is bad habits, it's just that without a good woman, there isn't much of a future. There's barely much of a present, let alone a future. Amrei law. And some say that they weren't allowing us Jews to do redemption of the firstborn, which is when once upon a time, the firstborns were supposed to be those who worked in the temple. And then due to the sin of the golden calf, if I'm not mistaken, the firstborns lost that privilege and it was transferred to the Kohanim, the priests. Din hu shenigzar al tzmeinu shel yisod isha. It's a law that we should decree upon ourselves not to marry a woman, and not to have children. And because of that, there will be the positive result that the descendants of Abraham will cease to exist on their own, and rather than them being executed for doing the mitzvahs. And also, we won't be idle or forsake doing the mitzvahs because of these decrees. Rather, the reason that it wasn't decreed because they left it for the Jews. So it's better that Jews be having children accidentally rather than doing it on purpose. Rather, let the Jews' children be killed because the parents wanted to have kids and wanted to be together, and the evil ruler is going to kill them for doing circumcision or redeeming the firstborn. Rather than being idle, being left alone, so that they're not killed. And I don't know. See, if you don't have kids, so they're not getting killed, and the future mitzvahs are not being avoided because you don't have kids. If you have the kids, then you have to do the mitzvah of pidyon haben and meal. So you have two problems. If you do those things, then they could be killed. If you don't have the kids, so then you're avoiding them getting killed, and you're avoiding not doing these particular mitzvahs. Versus if you don't have the kids, all you've not done is you've only avoided one problem. Versus if you have the kids, you can have two problems. And he brings a note on this Toshi Yeshogin by Yevizid, and he says, "Kol uze dafka anu yoydi bebir shli kabel zeglera achim yesh safu b'davar tzarich libchol Tosfos." So Tosfos says that what does it mean, Toshi Yeshogin? It's only in the case where you don't think they'll actually listen. But if you think they're going to listen to the rebuke, you should tell them off. I really thought it was in this Gemara that it was the whole thing of Sheit Atzmecha. Oh, I was looking in the wrong place. Kaftur Aferach. I don't know what Kaftur Aferach is, but he does exactly bring down what I was quoting before. So Leket Divrei Drush Hagoyis Wusser Motzram Mchakim Shalgadoli Adoris Sopranom Yonavan Alenu Shitusushloi Al Seder Shas. Okay, so let's look at the first one here. It's actually relatively short. Kaftu Aferach Babasra Samach Beit Amud Beis Shit Atzma Barach Kashet Atz Acher. So adorn yourself and afterwards adorn others. It says, Ksiv. Vayomer Al Aron Kach Lecha Egel Bebakar Lechatas Vayalol Latmimim Bakar Lefnei Hashem. So the verse in Vayikra Tes Beis Gimel, it says in Leviticus 9 verses 2 and 3, God says to Aaron, take for yourself not a lamb, a calf. Ben Bakar, I don't know why it says Ben Bakar, I think it has to do something with the age. The Chatas for a sin offering, Vayal Ola, and a ram for a burnt offering. To me, they should be unblemished. Offer them up before God, and to the children of Israel you should say a saying. So it seems that the explanation of what's going on here is you should adorn yourself first, and afterwards adorn others. Right? That's why he says you should bring the sin offering. He says, take the calf of a certain age to adorn himself first, to do a sin offering first, really be perfect in God's eyes. She's kashtu gamhema, vaz gamhema yichol mekash da'acherem, zahu l'shon leimor. I really should look at that verse implied, because I thought it meant the sin offering first, make himself clean or pure in God's eyes, and then bring the burnt offering. But apparently I am not understanding what's going on here, so quickly Iker test Bays and Gimel, and maybe Dalit also, I'm not sure. Let's take a quick look. Iker tests. Iker tests, okay. ויאמר העם ככה יגע בברכה וחטס והעלו תמימים והקריב לפני השם ובני ישראל להם דבר להם קחו סיריזים חטס ועגל וחבס ונשנה תמימים לעולם. Okay, I don't know why I didn't quote the whole thing, but basically it says Aaron was supposed to bring a sin offering and a burnt offering. And then the next verse says that he's supposed to tell the Jews to do the exact same. They're supposed to bring also a sin offering and a burnt offering. I don't know where this Kshed Achrak is in the Gemara, because we saw you shoking Vayu Mizidin. Tosfos doesn't seem to say Kshed Atzmecha, and the Rashbam doesn't seem to say Kshed Atzmecha. The Gemara doesn't say Kshed Atzmecha. I just read it to you. I'm looking just a little bit before that to see if it says before that. It does talk about a woman who has jewelry, takshitim, but it doesn't seem to say this exact phrase. I mean, it's interesting because this phrase has some connection with later on paragraphs we'll talk about this. I want to get there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs here of explanation of this concept of of adorning yourself first and afterwards adorn others. I think this is something to investigate. At least I was right about last for the end of the 3rd chapter. I thank you for paying attention, for watching. If you did, I hope you found it somewhat enjoyable and somewhat educational. And have yourself a good week. And if you're in any financial position to help out, you can send PayPal or Zelle to schnelsh@gmail.com. That's SHNELSH @gmail.com. It's a good friend of mine, Elio Shane. As far as I know, he's in Muncie. He's thinking about coming back to Israel when he can. And he sells it over to Rabbi Einhorn. There is a direct number you can send. I might have mentioned in a previous video. I don't have it offhand. It's actually on the phone I'm using to record in a previous WhatsApp. I might have it in one of my notes. Just give me 1 second. I'll take a look. No, I don't know where I put it. But I have it in one of my previous Okay, but anyways, or you could send e-transfer to benjsilver@gmail.com. That's for Canadians. There's something called a global money transfer. I don't know how that works. I also accept cash. If you see me around, you want to give me cash. I prefer not to become a publicity figure. I'm not trying to get famous. I really just want to live a simple life with a wife and study and get a better understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing in life according to what I'm able to. I'm not looking to become a synagogue rabbi. I'm not looking to get up on the podium and speak. But I do want to make a point of things that do bother me. And I don't want to point fingers and say this person's doing this thing wrong and that thing. I had that blog for a while and it was like, it's not what I wanted in life. My original blog was like for 4 reasons. 1, personal diary. 2, self-therapy. 3, like a shidduch resume. 4, if I ever had anything really interesting to say, that maybe that'd be a way to bring in income. You know, if I was a decent writer, it's maybe that way to bring in money. It didn't work. And later time, I was trying to do like restaurant blogging, I'm moving to Israel. There are some interesting restaurants to visit, some I like, some I don't, but I couldn't make a success of it. So the blog kind of fizzled out. Occasionally, once in a while, I do write something still. It's still a personal diary. And actually, I was reading earlier, I forget which book it was, that was saying, a person should have a personal diary. They should keep track of their feelings, their pros and cons in life, what they're succeeding at, what they're failing at, and maybe even have a close friend to be able to confide into, to help them move forward in life. I don't know, just a thought. But right now, I really wish I had a wife for that. I really wish I had a wife to, I don't know, make me feel normal. I hate going home to a guy. Even if I can't have a wife, at least to live alone in my own apartment. But preferably I want a wife. I think that's normal. I know all the gay people out there, the homosexuals out there, or the asexuals are going to say, who are you to say what's normal, what's not normal? I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for me as a heterosexual, somewhat religious Jewish man with a relatively orthodox upbringing. Anybody who has a different upbringing, anybody who thinks differently, so I'm not talking to you. I'm not telling anybody else is right or wrong. I happen to think murderers are wrong, generally. I happen to think rapists are wrong, generally. I happen to think theft is wrong, generally. But I'm far from perfect, and I'm not really interested in telling anybody off. I want to be a good-natured person. I want to get along with people as best I can. That's, my thing. The only person I want to put any pressure on is somebody I'd like to date. Try and get them to see, just maybe in that much to me, like this Lauren. I don't know why she means so much to me. I have no idea. God put a feeling in me. I've had that kind of feeling with like 4 or 5 women in my life. And none of them has it come to marriage. If it ever did, I don't think I'd keep looking. Or maybe the Herod or Beta Geisha will get canceled. My finances definitely don't allow for more than one wife. Let's start with one. If I become rich and I can afford to have multiple wives, we'll deal with it. But at this point, one wife. And I'm definitely not in a position to, this is not the TV show Big Love, where I'm some, well-to-do guy, and I live in a community that having more than one wife is acceptable. I'm not a well-to-do guy, and I don't live in a community where having more than one wife is acceptable. Let's start with one woman. Okay. Shua Tov. Yom Kipper's this week. I'm not looking forward to it. And after that is Azino and Sukkot. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck balls. Yeah. Not literally, thankfully, but it is. Bye.